Okay, we're going to get going because we have a long agenda. We acknowledge the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Call to order. I just want to welcome Paula Redmond, her daughters Rebecca and Jessica, and I see Wendy Redmond and Brian Connolly here just to be part of this presentation tonight. And I know that I would like, when it comes to agenda, I'd like to change that agenda because of their situation. They have to get out of here. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, approval of agenda. Councillor Tweel.
Yes, I would like to move item H under Parks Recreation, naming of the ball field at the Frank McCauley Park for the Danny Redmond Memorial Field.
Yeah.
I'd like to move that up to item A.
So A becomes B, and et cetera. So we'll move by Councillor Tweel, second by, okay, all of council. All in favor? It was second by Councillor McCabe. Okay, so we can start right away. Christopher, do you want to make a presentation first, and then we'll move right to the two items?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to go over the briefly with the report. So a submission was made through the commemorative naming application with regards to naming the ball field within J. Frank McCauley Park to be called the Danny Redmond Memorial Field. With regards to the report details, it was listed in the report that Danny was a city councillor with the City of Charlottetown from November 2000 and served a total of 4 terms on council before finishing his political career in 2014. Danny chaired a number of committees within the city. One particular was the Parks and Recreation and Leisure Committee from 2004 until 2006. As chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee, Danny helped to create the Volunteer of the Month Award, and he was also instrumental and a key supporter in establishing the artificial turf field on the UPEI campus. Danny was also instrumental in reestablishing the Parkdale Days for the community in 2001. I believe those days had happened before, pre-amalgamation, and Danny brought it back and reintroduced it in 2001. And the event takes place annually in the J. Frank McCauley Park. And not only was Danny passionate about the city of Charlottetown, but he helped to initiate many long overdue upgrades to this park and worked closely with our department, Parks and Recreation, and the former mayor of Parkdale, J. Frank McCauley. And Danny passed away on September 26, 2019. And as a part of our committee report, we recommended that council take into consideration naming this ball field after Danny Redmond.
Christopher, thank you. Also, I want to recognize Sue Fraser, who was the manager of Parks Recreation during Danny Redmond's tenure as chair and councillor. Okay, do we want to go with a motion on the floor? Councillor Tweel.
Yeah. I want to, first of all, I want to thank Danny's wife, Paula, for taking the initiative to recognize the contribution that Danny made as an elected official here with the city of Charlottetown. As was noted, Danny Redmond served 4 consecutive terms here, and his trademark was quite simple. He always put the people first. Danny wasn't one to be persuaded or influenced by any special interest groups or any corporate agendas. Neighborhoods and communities is what he believed in, and that's who he communicated with, and that's who he worked with. Now, Christopher talked about some of Danny's attributes. When you hear the word revitalization, that speaks volumes to Danny Redmond and what he did for Ward 2, particularly the Frank McCauley Park. yet he was very sensitive and very respectful, and that he had an open rapport with Frank McCauley and his wife. He communicated with them consistently to make sure everything was done very tastefully, respectfully, and moving forward. There were many things that Danny Redmond did in that park. The ball field was just one. There were many other attributes that Danny was instrumental in and played an indispensable role in revitalizing that park. Christopher mentioned the Parkdale days. It was because of Danny Redmond that you have summer socials all over the city of Charlottetown. He provided that incentive. He provided that whole concept of reaching out to the neighborhoods and communities. And I think one of the things that was near and dear to his heart was when he had Parkdale days, working at Canadian Mental Health, Danny Redmond made sure that every one of the members of Canadian Mental Health were part of Parkdale days. He arranged the transportation, and he made sure they were part of it, and they were front and center. And they were front and center. And I talked to some of them afterwards when, Parkdale days continued on. No disrespect to anyone that followed Danny, but they said, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. It never will be the same. So I want Paula, Jessica, Rebecca, Wendy, and Brian, and the entire Redmond family to know that I'm very honored to move this resolution. We're going to have a bit of a ceremony here, I think on Friday, Christopher, and then in the spring, we're going to do a reincarnation of Parkdale days the way Danny would have done it. And that means we're going to reach out to all the members of the Fitzroy Center and working with Councillor Justin Mattard, who's done a phenomenal job and carrying on that legacy. And I know Danny would be very proud with the work that Justin's doing. So I just want everyone to know it's very emotional. It's very emotional to get up and speak about something like this, because if it was up to me, Danny Redmond would be here. He would be here. So I know Councillor Mattard, you'd like to say a few words too, but Paul, I hope this is what it meets your expectations. Thank you.
Just before you do that, Eleanor, can you read the resolution? Then we're speaking to the resolution. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Tweel, seconded by Councillor Mattart. Be it resolved that Council approves the naming of the ball field located in J. Frank McCauley Park as Danny Redmond Memorial Field in accordance with the Municipal Property Naming Policy, P-Admin-3, and further that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Councillor Mattard.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Tweel, for those kind words. Welcome, Redmond family, here tonight. As the current councillor for Ward 2, it's certainly an honor for me here this evening to show my support for the recognition of the ball diamond at the J. Frank McCauley Park. I had the privilege of meeting with Councillor Redmond in 2018. We sat together and talked for quite a bit about Ward 2 and how it meant to him and the things that he did over his tenure there and the things that were accomplished, not only in Ward 2, but across the city. We also talked a lot. I've always known and heard about Danny through sports and recreation, so he's a big proponent, I know, of football and all sports included. So it's certainly an honor here this evening to show my support and welcome to the family that showed up here this evening, so thank you.
Well, just like myself, I added some comments the other day. Danny and I go back to Prince Street School, Birchwood, Colonel Gray, University of Prince Edward Island. And as I said, both our mothers, my mother, Babe Brown, and Mrs. Redmond shared some life experiences that developed into a friendship. And Danny and I were both elected in 2000, and I served 2 terms. And then when I ran for mayor in 2010, Danny, Paula, and his girls were there to help out, 2014, 2018. So there's a history there with the Redmond family, not just in terms of politics, but also in families. And Wendy might call me after about this comment, but I think one of my brothers went out with Wendy when she was in high school, so I'll just leave that as a reminder of the Brown days. And thank you for coming here. So, any questions called? Questions called. Is Councillor Duran online?
He is, but he's just messaged and said I'm watching, but.
Well, we'll just take the vote without them. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion passed. Resolution is official, and I know that Danny passed away on September 26, 2019. It's only 2 days away from that time 6 years ago or 5 years ago. I just want to make sure that we do honor that, maybe on Thursday or Friday. Thank you very much for showing up. Another resolution? Yep. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Tweel and seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised request for quotes, one new ride-on floor scrubber, Simmons Sports Center, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid amount of $16,950 plus applicable taxes from A1 Vacuum Sales and Services, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Questions called? All those in favor? Councillor Duran, are you on?
Yeah, I think I'm hooked up now, thanks.
Are you in favor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We can go back to Norman is in. Norman, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Norman? Okay, 8-0. Okay, so we're going back to the agenda, and A became B. So we do have Bob Gollier, correct, Bob? And President Sandy McDonald from Holland College. If both of you just want to sit at the desk there, at the table. And Bob or Sandy, when you want to speak, when you wish to speak, you just have to press the mouthpiece, and that'll give you the red light. So, Councillor Tweel, you wish to introduce them, or?
Yep. I want to welcome these two fine gentlemen here to City Hall. And I want the council to know that we've had a number of meetings on ad hoc perspective, a number of meetings trying to prepare for a presentation here at City Hall in front of the entire council. I think tonight you're going to hear a very good presentation. I can tell each and every one of you a lot of work went into this presentation and this proposal that you're going to hear tonight. You know, when you have Holland College and Bob, who's very passionate about the sport of tennis, a tremendous amount of research was accomplished here tonight. And you're going to hear, I'd like to use the phrase, compelling testimony. You're going to hear compelling testimony here tonight. So I want to welcome Bob and Sandy, and I want you to know I appreciate all the work that has been done thus far, but there's certainly a lot more work to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So Sandy, just introduce yourself, and Bob, and then we'll get this on the road.
I'm Sandy McDonald, President and CEO of Holland College.
And I'm Bob Gallagher, President and Acting Executive Director of Tennis PEI.
And thank you, Mr. Tweel, for that introduction. I'm not sure how compelling the testimony will be. I feel like I'm back in provincial court working. Just by way of introduction, you'll see in the slides that Holland College's name is on this as a Holland College Sports Center. I was asked, when we started this process a couple of years ago, I was asked by the province if we would be involved. We're not contributing any money to the project, but services in kind and some administrative and maintenance support. So it'd be pretty presumptuous of me to say this should be the Holland College Sports Centre when we have no cash to put into it. But we have volunteered a couple of years ago to help with the administrative and maintenance side and provide some internships for our students. So the name Holland College Sports Centre is really for the purposes of this presentation. I'm assuming at the end of the day, when we get the institution up and running, that the name will reflect the funding partners, and we'll be there to provide some support. So I just wanted to clear that up, that it's an initiative that's got many people involved, and Bob, I think, has been the principal author, so he'll carry out the presentation tonight. I think I'll speak to one slide, Bob. And then we'll provide some Q&A after that, if that's okay. So I'll turn it over to you, Bob, and you can
Great.
do your thing, man.
Thank you, Sandy. Some of you maybe recall, I actually did a presentation to City Council about 3 years ago. And I was working with Squash PEI and the Canada Games Organization to put together a facility that would allow, obviously, tennis, squash, pickleball, and the reason for that is because Canada Games Squash is a winter sport, and they had some money, and they were looking forward to being able to house these 4 indoor courts, 4 squash courts that they wanted. We were relatively late to the party in terms of our application to the infrastructure fund. The recreational stream had been taken, had been utilized, so we didn't get any traction. So I'm back again. 3 years later, still doing the same thing, trying to determine the opportunity for indoor tennis courts. A lot has changed since that time and 3 years ago. At the time, we had the 2 courts at the spa. Since then, in I guess May of 2022, we were advised that the courts would be closed in September of 2022 by APM, who took over the mall. They did close them. And, utilized the spa as a gym and saw that no construction was going on in October. So we basically sent a message to Tim Banks and saying, look, what's your construction timelines? Are you going to have this available? He said, yeah, if you're interested in leasing, by all means. So Tennis PEI leased the 2 courts. They put a wall between the gym and the courts. And as a result, we ran the Realty Racket Club. And Tennis PEI did that for a year, and then we were closed down. So the reason I'm mentioning that is there are some valuable learnings that Tennis PEI obtained through utilization and managing that club, and I may refer to it during the presentation. So if we take a look at the project vision, it's a fairly large vision. So the question might be, how did a facility that was tennis racket oriented now become a full-blown athletic facility? And the reason is because we are working through and with Holland College and through the opportunity for athletics through that college. Obviously, Tennis PEI requires indoor facilities, which we don't have anymore because it's closed down. We're now the only province in Canada that does not have indoor facilities. And I think, as much as it was bad for us to lose those courts, it did create an awareness by all government bodies that now we don't have this facility, and there is an impact into the tennis community. So basically, we're looking at certainly a center would include 4 indoor international courts, squash courts, basketball, volleyball court, and pickleball courts. We'd also include 4 outdoor tennis courts, 8 outdoor pickleball courts, and the facility will provide the continuum of sports for children to adults, seniors, and persons, including those with disability. Serve as a development for the high-performance athletes in all sports and potential site for hosting local and provincial national sports in all sporting disciplines. So it's an all-inclusive sporting athletic facility. And so the reason we're including basketball, volleyball, and is the opportunity to have these sports. And I can tell you from personal experience, having moved down here since 2006, when our daughter was 3 and she's now at the 4th year of Mount A, she had every opportunity to participate in sports throughout her career. And it was an invaluable opportunity for her. And now the millennials are on board now with their children, and they are even more determined to get their kids involved in organized sports and programs. And what's happening right now in all these sports is that we're now running low on resources and facilities. And certainly the Simmons Center will definitely help, but there's still a need for additional resources and facilities. So if we take a look at just tennis itself, the growth of tennis is shown by obviously the increased demands at Victoria Park, and I want to thank the city and Christopher and those involved in the resurfacing of those courts, which is long overdue. Victoria Park is a beautiful venue for tennis, outdoor tennis, and one of the best venues in Atlantic Canada. So it's great that those courts are being recovered and resurfaced. We see an increase in growth in tennis and lessons with the, again, with that we have a need for coaches as well. As I said, the 2 courts have been closed at the spa, and the PEI, as I said, is the only province. It's an impact for all of our tennis community. We gain momentum in the summer with lessons, with programs, and then in our high performance group, which the province provides us funding, we don't have no place to practice in the winter. We have to utilize the UPI gym, the APM center, any schools that we can get. And it's not the same as hitting on a full-time tennis court. And what's happening is the market is growing tremendously in terms of the youth for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is the activity of some of the elite tennis players in Canada. In 2021, the men under Denis Shapovalov and Felix Auger-Aliassime, they won the Davis Cup. And they were playing top 10 athletes all around the world. And so Tennis Canada arranged the Davis Cup to come across Canada, and it was in Charlottetown. And the Davis Cup is actually probably much, much larger than the Stanley Cup, I can tell you that. And it was displayed at Victoria Park. In 2022, or 2023, the women, with Leila Fernandez and Eugene Bouchard, and some other Canadians, top Canadians that are not listed in the top 10 or even 20 world players, they won the Billie Jean King Trophy. And they're competing against every country in the world. And again, Tennis Canada arranged for this trophy to be sent across Canada, and we had it on display in Charlottetown. And Councillor Twill and Deputy Mayor Jankoff were kind enough to attend the presentation and see the activity and the enthusiasm of the tennis organizations and the kids with regards to that trophy. The other thing I want to mention is that Tennis Canada recommendations is 1 indoor court per 10,000 people, and that depends really on the demographics associated. But sport tourism is a key part for all of these sports, as you may be aware. Sport tourism is the largest sector of the tourism industry. It is a $3.6 billion business in Canada. And to give you a specific example, because Tennis PEI has a commitment to the Atlantic Tennis Association, we are responsible for providing 2 outdoor and 2 indoor tennis tournaments for Atlantic Canada athletes. We don't have any indoor facilities, so what we have to do is that we have to rent the Cougar Dome in Truro to host our tournament. And last year, we had over 80 tennis players, athletes attending it, a record number. And through that, we probably have 50 or 60 families that are now in Truro as opposed to being in Charlottetown. And that's just one small sector of the issue of sport tourism. Tennis Canada and all the provincial tennis associations are working really hard to try to ensure that there's the opportunity to increase the number of indoor facilities and outdoor facilities in Canada. And as a result, they have a number of programs, and one of them is simply that they provide $350,000 for the erection of a 4 to 6 type of indoor facility. It's not much in the scheme of things, but it's at least something. So if we go to the next sport, quickly, talking about the market situation in pickleball. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in North America. Has anybody played pickleball in this room? Anybody? It's a great sport. It's a fun sport. It's all ages can play. You can pick it up immediately. and a lot of seniors are now taking it up. But there is a shortage of indoor facilities. And so they're playing in gyms, they're playing at the APM Center, they're playing wherever they can get courts, and they'll put down temporary lines to do that. There has been studies showing improved blood pressure and cardiorespiratory fitness, and simply because it's a social aspect of the game, lower levels of depression, and because of the social connections. The same thing applies in terms of sport tourism as it does for pickleball. Pickleball Canada has a national tournament that moves from east to west, and they have 200 to 300 people playing in these courts. So as we'll talk about, the opportunity to have multiple pickleball courts to allow this opportunity would be a great asset to the city of Charlottetown and the province of PEI. If we go to the next sport, squash, as I said, the squash courts were purchased for the 2022 Winter Canada Games. They're still in storage, and there's no place to put them. But there are eight really good courts in total, but 2 are in Mill River, 2 at the Credit Union Place in Summerside, 2 at the Spa, and 2 at UPI. But none have extensive viewing capabilities, and none have courts, enough courts for large tournaments. 80% of the current membership play in Charlottetown, and these courts need to be installed at some point. Again, the same thing, opportunities for large tournaments. And for those that attended the Canada Games and watched the squash at the Canada Games, the bleachers were full of people. And it was a really terrific number of people attending the squash competition. If we go to the next slide, in terms of basketball and volleyball, talking to my colleagues in basketball and volleyball, the executive director of basketball says they have to turn away kids because there's not enough facilities for them to play on a regular basis. And so any opportunity to add additional basketball courts, and the same thing with volleyball courts, is required to keep these kids occupied. The one thing that I really think would be unique is having all of these sports under one roof, the parents having the opportunity to bring their kids, rain or shine, to this facility, the kids then having the opportunity to participate in all sports, whether it's tennis, pickleball, squash, basketball, volleyball. That's part of their sporting week. And that would be a tremendous opportunity, I think, for the parents as well as the kids. So, we won't call it the Hollage College Sports Center because Sandy doesn't want to, but we've got it on the slide anyways.
I'm happy to name it. I don't have any money, so it's,
So we've got basically the following. We've got 4 indoor courts, 4 outdoor courts, squash courts, 4 temporary pickleball courts. And the reason we say temporary, and I'll explain it when we do the diagram, is that for us to hold a tennis tournament, all the courts, all the lines on the court have to be dedicated tennis lines. There can't be any additional lines on it. However, we would be more than happy to put 4 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court with temporary lines. It would have bleachers for viewing, washroom and change room facilities, mezzanine, tournament opportunities, as I said. And, with the size of the facility, and I'll talk about that in a second, there will be a huge area in terms of the tennis area, as well as basketball, for other opportunities for festivals, whether it's the Shellfish Festival or other opportunities, and I will talk a little bit more about that. And then we have the opportunity for college events as well, not only for their athletic program, but also for whether it's conferences, concerts, lectures, etc. Now, if we take a look at the center, what we have is as follows. It's basically a building that's 120 feet wide by 400 feet long, okay? And on the left-hand side, you can see 4 tennis courts, and then on the court furthest to the right, there are 4 pickleball courts. It's a 2-level scenario. So we have the 4 tennis courts on the bottom side. Then we have, in the middle, we have the men's change room, women's change room, other change rooms available, universal change rooms. And then on the right side, we have the basketball court, volleyball court. And then on the far right, we have the opportunity to put these squash courts. And So, and then on top of the change room facilities, there's a mezzanine. And so this facility is 120 feet wide, it's 400 feet long, but it can go as high, it can go up to 43 feet high. And how do we do this? And we investigated this a number of years ago, but at the time we decided to move forward with bricks and mortar building. So this building is basically Sprung Instant Structures Incorporated, and some of you may have heard it already. Basically, it's a high-density aluminum frame with a high-density DuPont Tedlar covering. And the covering is then also has an R30 factor with a film insulation as well. And so the head office, this company is a Canadian company established in 1877. It is located in Calgary. The picture on top of Instant Structures is their head office made of this material. On the first picture to the left of that is their entranceway and stairway to their offices. And then they have offices upstairs in the building, and they also have a gymnasium. So it's like a building. Now, this company has been involved for many years. They have installations all around the world. They're involved in commercial, they're involved in recreational, they're involved in industrial, and they're involved in military installations. From a recreational perspective, they have installations in Canada that cover hockey rinks, swimming pools, ski lodges, etc. The nice thing about this, and one of the reasons we wanted to pursue this, is the speed by which it can be constructed. So upon purchase order, Sprung can provide all the raw materials in 5 to 6 weeks. They send an engineer with the product to help the contractor erect it, and they can put it up 900 square feet per day. So a 48,000 square foot building would take basically 53 days. So perhaps, close to 2 months, maybe 3 months. So it can go up relatively quickly compared to bricks and mortar. And then the nice thing, once it's erected, then it has the opportunity that all the tradespeople can then work inside, no matter what the weather's like. And so, based on their website, and I've copied the website in there, www.sprung.com, if you have a chance to look at some of the applications. From purchase order to, opening, a lot of these installations take a year, which is unheard of in the business. So, they have an installation in Calgary at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. Sandy was there on business in Calgary and had made a stop to the SAIT, to their gymnasium there. So
Yeah, if I can, the institution, SAIT, President David Ross is a maritimer from Nova Scotia. Their Sprung institution has been open for 12 years. It looks like a part of the campus. It doesn't look like an add-on, like a dome or things like that. It looks like a permanent building. It is incredibly flexible in the sense that they can move sports around. They have a couple of floors. They have volleyball, basketball court, which they move interchangeably. They have racket courts, which they move interchangeably. And it's served, there's about 35,000 students at SAIT. Many more part-time. So David swears by the Sprung approach. Given their proof of performance across Canada, I thought if we were going to do something here in Charlottetown, that it would be a good place to do business.
thanks, Sandy. So if you take a look at the configuration drawing, and 3 years ago, we ended up utilizing A49, Architecture 49, to do some artistic renderings, simply because they did Credit Union Place, and that was, we thought it looked like a pretty nice spot, so we contacted them. The architect at the time was from PEI, so she helped do those initial drawings. So we contacted them again, and again, A49 was involved and provided us these architectural renderings. So, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So on the drawing, we have highlighted a viewing area from the tennis courts up to the second floor mezzanine, and this is what it would look like from an artistic drawing perspective or a rendering perspective. If we move to up on top of the mezzanine and look down on the tennis courts, this is what it might look like. So just a quick comment on that picture. At the side, right at the side, the height of those, at that area is 20 feet. At the baseline of a tennis court, it's 28 feet, and the height at the center line is 43 feet. So it works perfectly for tennis. 120 is the maximum, is the minimum requirement for tennis courts, and that's the maximum they can go for the sprung technology. So on the mezzanine, there may be a kitchenette, there may be vending machines, there would be bleachers for viewing. If we move down to the far side of the gym and look backwards, this is what you might see. Okay? So, you know, there'd be a wall with windows, there would be a hallway to the squash court, there'd be bleachers. If we move then to where the squash courts are and looking at the squash courts, it would look something like this. And so the only other aspect that we thought of is because of the potential for national tournaments with squash, what we felt was that the wall that's dividing the tennis or the basketball and volleyball court with the squash might be retractable. And those bleachers that are now watching basketball could be turned around for a national squash tournament. And there'd be more space for spectators. Okay? So if we move into the entranceway and look directly from that point, then again, you would see something like this in terms of reception area and the hallway down to the squash courts, and then the hallway to the change rooms. And so those are the architectural renderings that A49 has done for us. If we take a look at the economic benefits.
Slide.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Go back.
Oops, going the wrong way.
Okay, not that slide. We don't want that one.
No, there you
That
go.
one. Most important slide. For this, when we began these negotiations or discussions with the province a couple of years ago, we focused on these benefits to our athletes and our students and our staff. We just opened a wellness center on the campus 2 weeks ago, and it's focused on wellness initiatives, mental health, physical health for both our students and staff. We have about 1,600 students and staff right in that end of the town. A little bit more when you count our adult education programs and our international programs over on Belmont Street. So you're probably looking at 2,000 people. We recently held a national women's soccer college tournament. We held it in Summerside because the facilities here in Charlottetown just weren't adequate the way we wanted to run the tournament. And we have been quite successful as a college in intercollegiate athletics, but we are hampered at that end of the city in terms of what we can do. So we have a number of programs. I've outlined some of them there. The kinesiology, sport and recreation management in particular, that would be able to provide internships for the center, and we'd be able to offer some support in terms of the maintenance and administration of the center. So that's really what we were hoping for. The other side there, the concerts, the events, there is some indication that the event ground there's being hopefully be some events there. We have a very strong music program. We would love to showcase our musicians there. And certainly our graduations, we have a number of graduations that we used to hold at the Delta or the Civic Center that we now hold on campus, and this would be facilitating that. So it's got a wide number of possibilities for our students and our staff and our campus. So we're hopeful something like this could be built on the event grounds, which is 100 yards from where our students go to school.
Thanks, Sandy. If we, from an economic perspective, obviously the benefits are tourism, sport tourism, for hosting events and tournaments for all these 5 disciplines. The tennis court area, which is basically 120 by 240 square feet, can be utilized for other activities. And for example, I know Holland College sponsored the ACAA National Volleyball Tournament. Well, they bring their own floor. They put their own floor on top of the Holland College floor. And so there's these type of associations can bring their own specialized floor to put on the tennis court. And those posts and the nets can be removed for other applications. So there's other sports that can be utilized as well, whether it's badminton or any other types of sports. So events in all 5 disciplines at the provincial, regional, national level, and sport tourism, as I said, is important. The center will impact local jobs, we'll be creating youth and adult employment. You know, certainly the youth for coaching is a tremendous opportunity for some of the young athletes, and opportunities for our camp counselors and facility operations year-round. From a community perspective, obviously increases the opportunities for leisure, recreation, event options for community. Obviously, the citizens of Charlottetown and PEI can engage in lifelong learning skills, programs, camps, emerging community recreational needs, and improve the city of Charlottetown and community amenities. And the center will be delivering high-quality programs in all disciplines. So, as I said, you know, certainly the tennis is growing. There is a lot of newcomers that are playing tennis because it's relatively easy to get a tennis racket and shoes and play. You know, Charlottetown Tennis Club has some tremendous programs, as does Tennis PEI. So, I mean, there's a lot of benefits associated with that. And then from a health and wellness perspective, you know, obviously, it goes without saying, a healthy population benefits the whole community. And this is one of the reasons why racquetball is so popular. I mean, it's tremendous that, you know, a lot more seniors are now out who've never played racket sports before, can pick up the paddle and the ball and play, and they enjoy it, and they're out with their friends. All sports can be enjoyed by every age and every ability level, and a healthy community improved mental health for the community as well. From a facility operation and management, Holland College will own and operate and manage allocation and rental of all the space.
Just hang on a sec, Bob. We're not going to own because we have no money into the project, but we've offered our services over the past couple of years to be able to operate and manage. We've been working, as Councilman Tweel and the mayor know, we've been working on the field for our college at that end of the city for quite some time. And the original model for the field would be that we would manage it and we would allocate so many days for each of the organizations, including ourselves. So we see ourselves involved with this organization in much the same way. We'd offer administrative support and allocation of time on courts because you have competing groups here. And you'd want to make sure that everybody feels they've got a fair shot at all the court time. So we would be involved in that sort of scheduling component as well. So that would be the extent of it. The ownership would be, in fact, the funding partners and whatever ownership process they developed.
Thank you. In terms of a 5-year operations budget, I've put together, and I have an extensive summary and spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheets to document this, and I'd be happy to leave this for anyone to take a look at it. But, you know, we took a look at overall revenue for each of the sports, tennis, squash, pickleball, you know, the rental of the basketball court, and tried to estimate what would the total revenue be for that particular facility. And we were very conservative in terms of our assumptions. So the revenue number is a very, very conservative number. But on the expense side, we also felt that we overestimated some of the expenses. And there's maybe some shared resources that could be utilized between the college as well as what we put in here. So, you know, given that, you know, we're looking at basically a break-even scenario for this particular facility. Just a couple comments with regards to the expenses. You know, one of the things, because this is a large building, it's, but we did determine, and it's R30 insulated, working with the ATC, Atlantic Tennis Center in Bedford, and reviewing their budget and their P&L situation, they spend about $3 per square foot in terms of utilities. And that's what we estimated as this as well. So that brings us to about $172,000 a year. Okay. So some of the comments and some of the questions we've had in the past, well, why not a dome? And the dome is a possibility at some point, but it's a lower capital cost, but higher operating costs. And the dome, based on my figures, is probably twice as much in terms of cost per square footage. And I can talk more about if there's any more questions about that option as well. So we think it's a fairly break-even situation, and, our assumptions for the cost of membership, the cost of courts are quite reasonable from our perspective. And that's where we learned, some valuable lessons running the Royalty Racquet Club in terms of what the market would bear. And we had a very successful January, February, March, April at the Royalty Racquet Club. But what we found out, once May, June, and July comes along, everybody moves outside to Victoria Park. So how do we alleviate that with this particular facility? Well, the only way to do it is to have the opportunity for all of the members to play outside at the same place. And then what we also did is that in our assumptions, we would not charge them to play indoors for June, July, and August. So there's no revenue for indoor play other than memberships. Okay? But the market is growing such that, having outdoor courts, Victoria Park, Stratford, all of these allow the opportunity to get ahead of the curve in terms of players and programs for adults and kids. Okay. We get into next, the capital cost estimate. And so A49 utilized Ellis Don to a capital cost estimate. And I got to be honest with you, I was pretty well shocked, how much this budget came in. Now, the actual building quote to me was $4.5 million with installation, as you can see in the budget, is actually about 5.47. But I can tell you that reviewing the capital cost analysis, and it's basically a 35-page document, and I'll leave a couple copies for you to review. It's incredibly detailed. And it starts from ground zero when there's nothing on the area to when it's totally finished. And they include everything. They've, down to the detail, defibrillator cabinets, first aid cabinets, bleachers, the number of plumbing fixtures are included in this. It's so much detail. So in terms of the cost, I'm quite confident that this would be no more than this amount. So the top part of the total base building budget shows about $16 million, $15.596. That's basically for all the subcontractors to put in what they need to do in the building. Down below, we have cash allowances, and then you have general conditions. That's for the general contractor and additional expenses that they might have. Then you have what's called design development contingency of $1.585 million. Basically, that's a contingency fund so that if there are changes in the design of the building, that the cost is covered. Now, typically, when you have a building that maybe take 2 or 3 years, there may be a lot of changes. The assumption here is that if there's a build that goes on within a year and a half, with minimal changes, then that contingency fund would be minimal. And the same thing with the escalation contingency of 3.5% of $584,000. Again, the sooner it goes up, the less cost increases there should be, if it can go up in a year or a year and a half. But on the top part, you can see the special construction of Sprung is the 5.7. That's the actual building and the cost to put it up. And then the other significant expenditures are the electrical and mechanical, because the building is 48,000 square feet. But once the building's up, everything can go in and start work. Okay? So how do we pay for this? And so what I used was the same model that we used when 3 years ago under the infrastructure program. We used the 80-80-20 or 40-40-20 model, 40% for the feds, 40% for the province, and 20% for the municipal for the city of Charlottetown. And then add $350,000 in there from Tennis Canada. Capital gains legacy I have to be determined, and Squash PEI has applied utilizing this project as their project for $300,000 to pay for the squash courts. So that application is in. Where are we looking at putting it? At the event grounds. We've got 4 to 5 acres available for the indoor and outdoor facility. The actual building itself is 2.1 acres. The additional tennis courts and squash and pickleball courts are another 0.9 acres. So there's still lots of room for a lot of other activity and things that go on in that area. It'll continue to revitalize the east end of the city, close to downtown Charlottetown and Stratford. I mean, it couldn't be in a better location for both Charlottetown and Stratford. And certainly quick access from Cornwall with the highway. And, you know, it's part of the Eastern Gateway. So all the work that's going in there would complement exactly what we would be trying to do here with this facility. So don't take this to scale, but I had a drawing of a football field that was placed on there. I assumed the football field was Canadian regulations, and then I just inserted a 120 by 400 foot square on top of that. And in terms of, just to give you some idea of the amount of space. And still, certainly there's still more space that could be accommodating for, you know, the outdoor tennis and pickleball, as well as other potential sports as well, or concerts or whatever. So that's it.
Okay. I'm sure we have lots of questions. Just, Bob, just before we go there, what did you say the total acreage are you looking at? If you have 48,000 square feet for the building, the footprint, that's a little over an acre.
No, 1.1 acre, yes.
Okay, so, and what about the outdoor facilities?
So the outdoor tennis courts would be another 0.9 acres.
So 2 altogether, did you say?
2 acres, yeah.
2 acres.
2.1.
Councillor Twill.
Earlier, this was a very detailed report that the committee, the ad hoc committee worked on, a lot of preparation. I think, Bob, 6, 7 months in preparation. I think the game plan is quite simple. Presentation here to City Council, approach the province of Prince Edward Island, federal government, and including ACOA. This is a real good plan. It does not in any way, shape, or form compromise the green space that's there now. It's also an opportunity to, with, you know, a facility of this magnitude, be able to host, and I think it's safe to say, host the Shellfish Festival as well. We would make the arrangements so that the Shellfish Festival would be hosted in that facility, so you wouldn't need tents going up and taking them down, putting them up. It's a tremendous opportunity. If council decides to participate in a facility of this magnitude, it's very exciting. I think it'd be great for that part of the city. Certainly, Sandy, when he talked about, that the Collin College would look after the operations and making sure that programming is done. It's great. It's a great opportunity for some of the students that are participating in the sports and recreation, to give them that opportunity to have that experience. There's so many positive attributes to this facility. And I do want to thank Bob and Sandy for bringing this forward. I still think there's an opportunity too, if the city of Charlottetown wanted to see something else in this facility, I think our committee would be open to that as well. One of the things I talked about, Bob, was, table tennis and badminton and some of these other sports that are, just as important, because there's a big community out there as well that I think that would welcome that opportunity. But as I said, a lot of preparation has gone into this, and I'm looking for some good discussion here from all members of City Council. Thank you.
Comment that, Mr. Alderman Tweel, 3 things. The original name for the proposal of the center was the PEI Racket Center. Now, hoping that's going to be the end result, but Second, that we have been working, as you know, with the province, and they are expecting a similar presentation. They knew we were coming here, and then they'll be expecting their presentation. And the third thing, we haven't had a fulsome conversation yet with the Shellfish people, one official conversation on my part, but that will be a stop in the very near future as well. So we'll be talking to Liam at the Shellfish Festival about what possible collaboration would look like.
Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your report. It's fantastic, and Sandy knows my granddaughter's with the soccer team, and we don't see, it's all racquetball sports we're talking here. It would be sort of nice to try and get your soccer men's and women's team around that area, plus your football team, like instead of sort of leaving the city to go and rent the fields out in Cornwall to Terry Fox, which is great for them too, but they would only be able to walk across your campus, as we talked about before, I think. So just your comments on that?
Councillor Ramsey, I've been president of the college for 6 years. I've been working on the field for that end of the city for 6 years. And I don't feel any closer to it than I am right now. We were originally working on an idea that the field would go on the event grounds, an all-purpose sports field. We are now looking at a spot across the street between Joe Gist Park and the city encampment. So that's still alive, and we really would hope to do that. The fact is, for our students and staff, there are very few places to recreate at that end of the city unless you're in our gym, which is completely booked most of the time. So, so I would agree completely, and whatever we could do athletically or recreationally on that spot would be great for the college, and that's the reason I've been sticking with it for the past few years, is because we don't feel our athletes or our intramural programs, for that matter, should have to go to Cornwall or UPEI. We do put money into the UPI field each year because we want to partner with them, but it would be ideal for us if we had an institution like this, plus a field across the street that we could play soccer and cricket and those other sports on.
Councillor McAleer and Councillor Mattard.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Interesting presentation, gentlemen. Possible, exciting possibilities. Just curious, I know, Sandy, you've made it pretty clear, Holland College at this point, not lending their name or not being an owner of the thing, but I just wondered, I think I heard you say maybe prior to the meeting that the province were interested in having Holland College. I don't know what that means, like at the table. I just wonder, and I know you can't speak for the province, but I'd have to think that the province would be perhaps interested in this concept. That's just, and then, but then I got just a couple more, and so that one. And then on the structure itself, the sprung thing, I'm not an engineer, I don't know anything about the space, but on that sort of structure, you gave examples. I'm just wondering, I'm thinking of Fiona, and the wind blows on the island pretty much every day. Are there examples of where the sprung product have survived hurricanes and the like? I don't know if you have any knowledge of that, but I'd just be curious on that. And and the last point, and Sandy, I think you talked about it, about a field. I know Barb Carmichael in the field hockey space has. I've had conversations with her, and I know she's a big champion for the field hockey and another turf field in the city. And I know that's not part of this presentation, but anyway, I've just like to wonder what your comments on those points would be. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll address a couple of them. I'll turn it over to Bob for the sprung. The first thing, in terms of provincial interest, yes, John, Councillor McAleer, the province has been interested in this for quite some time. That's how I got involved in the first place. It was through the field and now the Racket Center, and that's where the name, the PEI Racket Center, really arose. So yeah, we've met with them, and they're looking forward to our presentation, which we'll do hopefully with Councilman Twill. The third one about the field, there is, as you know, probably all of you know, the event grounds is an enormous space there. And I think we had 10 separate drawings for a field there that would all fit and accommodate the Shellfish Festival. So there is space there for this center for sure. And whatever field we would want to build, we'd be happy to work with Barb and her people. I know her quite well on the field hockey side, because the fastest growing aspect of our intercollegiate sports are women's sports. We just added a women's hockey team and a women's rugby team. And again, they have no place really to practice. So when you look at the broad set of services for athletes, and for our students who want to be intramural athletes who don't have time to be an intercollegiate athlete, we don't have very much for them either. But I'll turn it over to the Sprung answer to Bob. But I do know when we looked at the dome in Summerside, for example, other domes in Atlantic Canada came down before Fiona. They brought them down, but the one in Summerside didn't have to, and it withstood the storm perfectly. And I'm told that the weather in Calgary has been no problem for the Sprung Institute there, so.
Yeah. As I mentioned, it's a Canadian company. They meet all Canadian building codes. They have applications all around the world and a lot of military applications as well. So to answer your specific question, I don't know if a specific hurricane that has happened, but I'm sure they have installations in the southern U.S. between hurricanes, tornadoes, and in the Middle East as well, with high winds associated with that. But I can follow up and see exactly. But they meet all building codes, and the design of it is such that there should be no problems. As I said, I think I said a 50-year warranty on the actual aluminum substructure and 25-year warranty on the Tedlar component as well. So.
Councilman Tarrant.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Bob and Sandy, for the presentation. Very much appreciated. I certainly see a lot of good things about this project, especially in an area that is underutilized with a lot of land. We talk about the event grounds, the parking lot area in between Joe Gibbs Park, and then even further to that, some other potential opportunities for land in that area, which would be great to revitalize that into a sports venue, and it aligns, I think, with the Eastern Gateway Master Plan. So I really hope to see that things will proceed that way in the future. When we talk about the stakeholders, we talked about the federal government, provincial, municipal, and very clear here tonight that Holland College was not an owner. So what would that ownership look like? Would that be looking at setting up like a board of directors that would be managing the three stakeholders, or we kind of put out to maybe CADC, or how do you envision the ownership of this actually playing out?
In the original business plan that we had, what we thought, and this was 3 years ago, that we would have, and in the business plan we have, a facility director, and we have all the people who report to it. What we had envisioned was a board that was made up of representatives from the various provincial associations. So a representative from tennis PEI, a representative from pickleball PEI, from squash PEI, from basketball PEI, and potentially volleyball PEI, and any other sport that has a stake in this whole facility. And then they would be the managing with the facility director as a nonprofit.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilor Twill, you have another question? Go ahead. Can you just hit your button there? Go live.
I want everyone to know that, President Holland College talked about some of the, the different sports that the college is involved with. Of course, I'm a strong enthusiast for football, and caught the game there Sunday afternoon. We played Dalhousie, and I can tell you that the product on the field is second to none. Now, Friday night, I attended a game at St. Mary's University. Friday night game, they played St. FX. Heck of a game. Saturday, I attended the game in Mount Allison. Mount Allison played Bishops. And then, of course, the game on Sunday afternoon, Holland College versus Dalhousie. And I can tell you, the excitement, the enthusiasm from the people that attended the game. And what really struck me was how many Islanders are playing on that football team. And that speaks loud to what we're trying to do here as a city, as a province. And Holland College has done a fantastic job. If you look at that campus today, think back 15, 20 years ago when that campus didn't have the facilities that it has today. And what it's done for that part of the city. Revitalization, well, they've taken it about 10 different levels. And I think a project like this, this is a great opportunity for the city of Charlottetown. Just a tremendous opportunity. And I believe that the other two levels of government will come on board. I did mention ACOA. I think there's opportunities there. I believe the city can also get involved. If there's anything that we think we could add to that facility, I think the doors are open there as well. I do appreciate the fact that, Holland College is willing to step up and manage the facilities with all the different sporting organizations that Bob outlined. I know there's more work to be done, but, what Holland College has done here in recent years has been nothing short of fantastic. And that game Sunday afternoon, you don't have to know a whole lot about football, but when you saw the product and how competitive that team was, that team's well coached, Dr. McDonald. That team is very well coached. And you know what? Gave Dalhousie everything they could handle.
Thank you, Alderman Trujillo. I'll pass those comments on to the coaching staff and to our Director of Athletics. We have about 250 intercollegiate athletes. Almost all of them are Islanders, all two-thirds. We did win last year, as Councillor Ramsey will remember, first time a college has ever won a national medal in the soccer, women's soccer, a bronze medal. We're competitive, certainly in the Atlantic region. We're a small college in a big pond in many cases, but we think it helps create a culture at the college where people feel welcome and there's pride in their school. So thank you for those kind words.
Sandy, just before we go, can you just put up the last slide there? So, Bob, when I look at this comparative analysis of a football field and what you're looking at, as you know, when we shut down the Water Street Parkway, the Charlottetown Event Grounds will go right to the water.
Right.
Okay, so that will have that. If you look at the Eastern Gateway plan that's on our website, it's to provide access to the water, canoeing, kayak, and so forth. But this facility will, for all intents and purposes, it will not serve as an outdoor facility for concerts or other amenities that require the space that's there now. Is there some concern about that, Sandy?
Mayor Brown,
If-
if I could
yeah.
point here, if you look where the waterfront is there, and
Yeah.
now the road, with now the road being closed, you'll remember there's a natural amphitheater there, as it runs right down to the road. There'd still be enough, now we wouldn't be able to put a major concert in there, but certainly some of the local concerts would play there very easily, because it's seating, the stage could be up in the high, and the seating could be back, but they're back to the highway, to the roadway there. But that roadway now will go all the way to the water. So there'll be plenty of room, I think, for small open concerts there, and it would really enhance the waterfront. I know this property because I've asked for 10 different drawings to see if it would work here. So it is a huge property, and most of it underutilized. And for the past 6 years, aside from the Shellfish Festival 10 days a year, it has been not utilized at all. I would say the past 10 years, but in my time as president for the last 6 years. So I think you could have the center. There's a big space there where the tent is now, and there's still enough space for an open-air concert easily with that natural amphitheater there.
Yeah, and Sandy, look, I'm just bringing this up because we've, as Bob mentioned at the beginning of his presentation, we had a presentation 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago it was a $14 million presentation. Today it's 22. But as you know, Imperial Oil still has covenants on that property, and if you start digging into that property, they have to oversee all the what's the term there, Richard? No, geotechnical information that would require us to go ahead. The other thing too is, so you're looking from a.
Can I just speak? Can I
Yeah,
speak
go
to the
ahead.
point, Mayor Brown? Yeah, we have the parking lots across the street, and they're under the same conditions. So we're allowed to rent them for $1 a year. We pay tax on them, but we can't break the surface. And in doing these fields, and that was, the stipulation is that you can't dig foundations in that property. I mean, I grew up at that end of the city in Sydney Street, so as you know, it's your neighborhood as well. There's contaminants along that shoreline if you go down X number of feet. So none of the things that we're suggesting will mean you have to disturb the contaminants that are in there. So I think that will be an ongoing concern, but I think as long as we're promising not to break foundations, dig foundations, then we'll be okay.
And Sandy, as you know, I grew up on the other side of the tracks too, so I know where you're coming from. So just last question, Bob, 4 million, 2 million for 25, 2 million for 26. Is that correct?
Yeah, at this stage. I mean, it's depending on the timing of the build and everything else and approval and you know, the tender release, et cetera, yeah.
Yeah, so will it be a joint ownership with the province, Holland College, Charlottetown Racket Club, the City of Charlottetown? Because if we invest money, there has to be some kind of a return on our ROI, return on our investment?
Well, you know, as I mentioned, certainly the associations, whether the sporting organizations would be part of the board, but, you know, the City of Charlottetown would be obviously part of the board. Perhaps the province would be part of the board. You know, I mean, it's still fluid.
Okay. And just one last comment. We did have some discussions that was initiated by Councillor Tweel with Atlantic Pickleball Club. They're looking at something within the city too. So, you know, we got a couple of
Yeah.
possibilities here. I just want to make sure that you're aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Scott Harris and I, we're very close in terms of ensuring that there's transparency on what's going on. We met last week, so we know exactly what they're doing. They know what we're doing. We strongly believe there's a complement of both facilities. There's enough growth in the market to accommodate both what they're doing as well as what we potentially would have as well. And, you know, I think it's a great idea for them to be able to offer that to the pickleball community as well.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm sure we will be following up.
Okay, thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Should I leave these,
Can we get the slide presentation sent to Cindy? Is that possible? You have it?
she's got it.
Okay.
Mayor Brown, is it reasonable to leave the business case as well as for anyone that wants to see the capital cost estimate?
Yep. Could you leave them with the CAO?
Sure can.
Yep. Or the finance? I think they're open documents, correct? In terms of, they're not confidential, they're not top secret?
No.
Good. We don't want to get into any conflict, right, Councilor Matard? Okay. Thank you very much, President Sandy. Thanks, Bob. Thank you very much. So we have a second reading to amend the zoning development bylaw, current development concept plan and development. Councilor Duran? You still there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could shout out if you want to ask questions. I forgot about you. And then do we have Councillor Beck online too? He's gone. Okay. You just have to
Great,
shout out to say, I want to ask a question. I forgot about you being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Second reading?
Zoning and Development Bylaw PH-ZD.2 to adopt bylaw PH-ZD.2-087, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw to amend the current development concept plan and development agreement in the Comprehensive Development Area Zone for the property located at 115 Murchison Lane, PID 425892, and to amend Appendix B Comprehensive Development Area parcels and permitted uses of the Zoning and Development Bylaw in relation to the subject property to allow for the development of a community health center on the subject property. Whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, PH-ZD.2-087, as it pertains to 115 Murchison Lane, PID 425892, as attached, was read and approved a first time on September 10th, 2024. Be it resolved that said bylaw be read a second time and approved, moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe.
Shall it pass? Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Yep. Good.
Be it resolved that said bylaw be adopted, moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe.
So this will mean now the start of construction for the new mental health and acute care campus? Okay, great. Okay. C. Yeah, no, we got it all through. C, Human Resources Committee Resolution. Do you want to read that? Good. She's going to put it on the floor and you can discuss it if you wish.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Matart, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown accepts the legislated minimum wage increases for City of Charlottetown employees to be effective September 29th, 2024.
Want to speak to it? Okay. Question was called. All in favor? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Thank you. Next item is Protective Emergency Services Committee Resolution. You want to put that on and then we can read the resolution?
Yes, you said Councillor Beck is now offline? Okay, so I will need an elected official to second this. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Okay, moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Be it resolved that Council approves the sole source purchase of 4 full sets of night vision, including helmet mounts and lasers for carbines at a cost of $79,997.68, taxes included, as approved in the 2024-2025 capital budget, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Question there? Councillor McCabe? Okay. All those in favor? Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Okay, great, perfect. Public Works? Yep. Just 1 second. Can you sign that, Deputy? Just give us 1 second. Yes, you can, Councillor Ramsey.
Council, as you know, one of our former volunteer firefighters was, he passed away Friday in the accident, a young Craswell, and I just want to make a motion there that our thoughts and prayers with him and his family. Thank you.
Does that require a resolution, or just do you want to make that as a?
I just want to make it a public statement that our thoughts and prayers are with him and with the family.
Are you asking for a moment of silence?
Yeah, why not? If
Okay.
you don't mind.
Let's go. Thank you. Was he in Station 1 or Station 2 as a volunteer? Station 2? Yes, and our sympathies go out to parents, Gary and Carol Croswell. I know that they're flying home from Europe, and his wife and kids, 2 children and wife. Again, deepest sympathies. Thank you. Okay, the next is Public Works Committee resolutions. Do you want to read them first, or do you want to? Okay, do you want to read the first one?
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the conditions of the public request for tender for street resurfacing package C, the submission of the Island Construction Limited in the amount of $899,897.45 plus all applicable taxes be acceptable. And the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Questions call. All those in favor? Councillor Duran.
Very much in favor. Thank you.
Sir. Next one.
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the conditions of the public request for proposals for 2 municipal sidewalk tractors with attachments, plow blade, ribbon blower, and sander, the submission of Saunders equipment through the Canoe Procurement Program in the amount of $414,490 plus all applicable taxes be accepted, and that council approves the budget transfer of $240,000 from the Stormwater Management Capital Budget account to the Large Fleet Replacement Public Works Capital Budget account. And further, that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Deputy, you want to ask
Yeah,
a
thank
question?
you, Your Worship. Yeah, I will support this resolution, but it is another reminder of the urgency and importance of getting our procurement bylaw up and running. So I just wanted to put that out there, again, that the importance of getting that bylaw sorted. Thank you.
Questions called. All those in favor? Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay, 8-0. Councillors Beck and Bernard absent. TP carried. Okay, do you have another one? Great.
Moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the approval of a change order for digester maintenance and accepts the change order submitted by GFL Environmental in the amount of $111,000, $460.30 plus applicable taxes, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Questions called. All those in favor? Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay. Councillors Beck and Bernard absent. Okay. Do you have another one there, man? So this is now economic, is it? Yep. 2024 Park and Forgiveness Program.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Tweel. Be it resolved that City Council, in partnership with Downtown Charlottetown Incorporated, support the implementation of a parking ticket forgiveness program within the boundaries of the business improvement area, and that the dates for the initiative in 2024 include October 1st to 31st and December 1st to 31st, and further that the program applies solely to metered parking.
Okay. Councillor Tweel, Councillor McCabe.
At the Economic Development and Tourism Events Committee, there was good discussion. I gained a much better insight as to how the program will unfold. I believe there was success with the program last year. And, one of the criticisms that we hear from people that like to shop downtown is always trying to contend with the parking meters. The parking meters are there for a reason. But the old saying is true, if there's a will, there's a way, and I believe that this is a good incentive. We'll do an assessment and evaluation at the conclusion of the Christmas season, but I think this is a great incentive to entice and encourage people to come downtown to shop, visit our restaurants and bars, and seek the professional services that they truly require. So I'm certainly looking forward to favorable results, and I think this is great initiative in conjunction with Downtown Business Association. But once again, the City of Charlottetown is stepping up to the forefront, providing this great opportunity to encourage more commerce and more trade in our downtown. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Twill. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Ramsey.
Okay, thank you, and I agree. I think this is a great initiative. I have no problem with this resolution. I'm just wondering, parking meters are kind of one of those things like patios that float between many committees. Who's responsible for the actual parking meter itself? What department?
Public Works.
Public Works?
Yep.
Okay, they have wrong information on all of them, so we have to go back and look at that. The times that they say they collect, they have to put money in till 6 o'clock, but our ticket people or our meter people are only on the job till 4, so it's kind of, no, not shushing, not okay when we have wrong information. Those poor tourists dumping money into those meters after 4 o'clock. So we need to bring that up at our Public Works Committee. Councillor Twill.
And they also put it in the, on the weekends too, because I've told tourists no. I know Richard's going around telling people to shh. Councillor Ramsey and Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Yeah, just sort of for clarification, why October 1st to 31st, and then we're omitting November, and then we're back to December? Like, why is there a month space there? Like, why wouldn't we just go November, December, or the whole 3 months? I don't know, I'm just asking, does that make sense to anybody?
Is there anyone here from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism?
Because, you're going and you're, if you're buying something
Is that Mike Russ?
up till the 31st, and then all of a sudden, on November 1st, it reverts back, and then December 1st goes back.
Mike, could you answer that question for the councillor from Ward 5?
Through your worship, can you repeat the question?
Can you repeat the question, please, there, Councillor Ramsey?
Just wondering-
Start from I have a question. Yeah, start from where I have a question.
Why is it just going from October 1st to the 31st, and then there's nothing for November, and then it's going for December 1st to 31st? Is it supposed to be the 3 months, or do they revert back in November to the regular standards, and then 1st of December, you go, if you buy something downtown, have your ticket renewed?
Mr. Russ?
Through your worship, to my knowledge, the request in the letter is for October and December in 2024. I'm not aware of why it would be only those 2 months, but that's what is in the letter.
I can speak to
Do you wish to amend the resolution to go for 3 months? Okay. Yes, Deputy, and then Councillor McKinnon.
Thank you. So just on both of those discussions, the October has to do with Small Business Week, and December has to do with Christmas, which is why those are the 2 months that have been chosen. And as for changing the parking meters from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., we may want to think about that, because the enforcement piece is there until 6 p.m. because the police are there to enforce from 4 till 6. Now, that's not happening. That's a whole other conversation. But there is an enforcement piece until 6 p.m. on the meters. It just has never, ever been implemented. So we just need to decide, I think, as a council, if we want to just take that piece out of it or not. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I want to thank this gal over here for reminding me.
Cindy McMillan? Cindy McMillan, Executive Assistant to Environment. Oh, no, okay. Any other questions?
If
Mr.
I
Russ?
could, your worship.
Go ahead.
Director McEwen just pointed this out in the letter. There is a reference to, in the second paragraph, over the 3 months, a total of 87 tickets. So it may be that the request is for October, November, and December.
Resolution reads October 1st, 31st, December 1st, 31st. So what was the resolution that came from your committee, Councillor McKinnon? Or Cindy, you were there?
Yeah, it's 2 months.
It's 2 months. That's what. Okay, Councillor McKinnon, do you want to add to it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the resolution was for 2 months. If memory serves me correct, in 2023, was there not a month in the spring on a trial basis for last year?
Yeah.
Which made the total of the 3 months for 2023. It wasn't October, November, December. It might have been the month of Easter. I'm not sure what that spring month was, but there was
Well,
3 months in
If
2023.
we have to amend it to add November, at least get it started October 1st. If we made a mistake, we'll just correct it by an amendment to the resolution. Question? Questions called. All those in favor? Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Okay. Okay, so we're just going through the agenda. My heavens, we're down to what it says, motion to move into a closed session per the... Oh, is there? No, that was done, I thought. That was the first there, Mr. Councillor Matart. That was at about 5, that was about 5:15, 5:15. Just... Oh, no, we don't make mistakes here. We just don't admit to them. Okay, so I have to motion to move into a closed session as per the Municipal Government Act of Prince Edward Island. Section 119, subsection 1F, review of legal advice opinion, update in regards to proposed project. Proposed project. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Matart. All in favor? Councillor Drawn? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay. Okay, I just... Back in an open meeting, just 1 second, don't go yet. Are we up? Move to adjourn. Councilor McCabe, Councilor Ramsey, all in favor? Councilor Drawn?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.